So the first, there's a sign-in sheet at the table. Please sign in. So the first candidate we have is Blake from ProCam. Thank you very much for coming. If you want to go ahead and start your...
Also, I just want to thank everyone for coming. This is a special meeting just for 3 manager candidates to present to the community and take questions that you might have. And that's the purpose of tonight's meeting. Quiero decirle gracias a todos por venir y va a haber 3 candidatos como manager de Westbriar que van a presentar hoy y ese es el motivo de la reunión hoy, que solamente los 3 van a presentar. Y si la comunidad tiene preguntas, también va a haber tiempo para preguntar a los managers las preguntas. Gracias. Entonces, Blake Lucas de ProCam, la compañía ProCam va a comenzar.
I'm sorry, I didn't bring a translator with me.
She can,
I can translate.
I appreciate that. There are copies, hard copies of either. I know.
okay, yes, thank you.
Thank you for having me this evening. And I'll just give you a very quick overview of us, so if you have any questions, we can get to what's important to you all. We are a management company that's been in business since about 1974. I am the 2nd president of the company and have been running it for 15 years. What we are most interested in and the way we operate is that the association is run by the board of directors. We are their right hand, essentially. We take our instruction from them and are directed by what they see as the priorities for the community. That said, we also think that a strong community and board of directors has a lot of communication back and forth between members. So we think it's a good idea to solicit information, to get ideas from members, and find out what your priorities are. One of the things that I did in preparation while talking to the board president was to take a look at what we see as priorities coming up and start a transition plan, just for our own education in terms of what we think we're going to need to do coming through the door. So one of those things is a welcome to ProCam community meeting that is for the owners, so that those people that aren't immediately available in the next couple of months can get a chance to come in, talk to us, get an idea about who we are and what our managers would be doing on their behalf, but also to answer questions, make sure that we understand what your priorities are and what your concerns are, so that we can advise the board properly. And that's really our role, just like the auditors and your legal counsel for the association. We're advisors and nothing more. So our direction, as I said, comes from the board of directors. Written in your documents is a very straightforward operating manual for how the association is to proceed. So we start there and then work through any issues that the community has. I know that there's a lot going on for you all. We've seen that both in terms of some of the communications on site, but also in terms of the reserve study and the discussion over loan vote, the loan itself, and those projects. So we're anxious to get into those issues and help you all and your board through them. Beyond that, the only thing I'll say about us is one of our hallmarks is stability in terms of managers. We don't have a lot of turnover. The average in the industry is about 1.5 years that any manager is with a community management company. Our average right now is about 7 years. And we do that because we try to support our members, not just in terms of what's going on in your community, but our managers as well. We don't overload them. We make sure they can focus on the issues for the communities that they manage and make sure that they're not going to be burned out, so that they don't essentially want to move on to somewhere else, because it takes a lot to learn about a community and to learn the issues that go on here. And obviously turnover is difficult. Unfortunately, that's something the board is dealing with now and your community. We would hope to obviously not have that happen anytime in the near future. Are there any questions I can address? Any issues?
What's the name of your company again?
ProCam.
ProCam?
Yes.
Can I just translate some of it?
Sure.
Okay,
course.
so, él dice que la compañía que representa el programa ha sido en negocio desde 1974 y ahorita él es el presidente desde hace varios años atrás. Él dice que se toma instrucción de la Junta para trabajar y también que la comunidad tenga una voz también es importante. Y también él dice que es importante saber las prioridades de una comunidad para poder trabajar con una Junta. Y una de las maneras que se hace es que tiene como una reunión bienvenido al programa por dueños de en una comunidad para que todos ellos puedan saber de su compañía. Y traten a actuar como consejeros y tomar dirección de la Junta. Dice que sabe que hay muchas cosas que está pasando en Westbriar ahorita, de comunicaciones en la comunidad, de un voto de préstamo y de un estudio de reserva. Y dice que pues, su compañía es muy importante para la estabilidad.
Muy bien. Buenas noches.
Buenas. Y dice que sí, que un manager de tiempo promedio ahí es de unos 7 años, que es más que lo normal en su industria. Y dice que eso es importante, tener estabilidad. Y dice si alguien tiene alguna pregunta, se podría preguntar.
En la comunidad que administra alrededor de 700 a 800 square feet, ¿cuánto es aproximado de condo?
He's asking, so in a community that you administer, or a condo community you administer, for a condominium of between 700 and 800 square feet, how much is the condo fee?
Okay. All of that depends upon the number of amenities in a community and what is going on in terms of the replacements and how well the reserves have been set aside. Basically what that means is it depends on how well it's been managed to date, since inception, and what is facing the community. I'll give you an example. If you have a community your size that has one building instead of multiple buildings, it's only got one roof. It's less expensive to take care of that one roof than to take care of multiple roofs. So that will impact on the amount of reserves that need to be set aside, which impacts on how much your condo fees are. That's sort of the long answer. The short answer is it depends entirely on what is required by each community. So it's very difficult just to give you, without trying to find an exact similar community in the same condition, age, and with the same amenities. With something that we've done, and we can certainly do, and review whether or not that's your condo fees are appropriate, but in reality, it's just based on what the need of the association is. That's where it comes down. And unfortunately, obviously, we don't have all of the background. We haven't been here to know where financially the association stands. We have some concerns. We understand that the loan vote was driven by some of those same concerns. So it's something that we'll learn as we come through and get into the financials of the community.
Ok, él dice que respondiendo a esa pregunta, todo depende en qué cosas tiene la comunidad y también qué tan bien se ha manejado y qué cosas tiene confrontándolo. Por ejemplo, en una comunidad con solamente un techo, entonces el condo fee va a ser diferente. Entonces todo depende de lo que está requerido por cada comunidad. Y dice que es un poco difícil encontrar una comunidad exactamente lo mismo que aquí. Entonces solo el condo fee, todo está basado en la necesidad o lo que necesita la asociación. Dice que había unas preocupaciones aquí acerca de eso, y por eso había un voto por un préstamo.
Do you have any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I would like to know, like, if something had to be done, instead of them telling us they did it and that was it. I wonder if there's any way possible that the company that did it can send us a paper letting them know that it was done, instead of just saying that it was done? Because I've been here 25 years, and this work, these pictures, I don't know what they've been doing with the condo fee money. So if somebody comes in and says, okay, we gotta fix this, can we get a receipt from the company? Because if I write down here, I did this and I did that, nobody's seen it, where's the money? Because the only thing I've seen since I've been off of work for 2 years, and I've been here 25 years, only one thing I've seen, and I'm very nosy, the guy painted over top of that old paint out there in front. You know, and then they have somebody come and shoot down the hall once or twice, and then at the end, they send you a bill of all this stuff, and the condo bill going up. So I would like to know, if some company come in and do something, can we get the company's name that did it, instead of them saying that this was done? Because this paper here that's in the hall, what have they did with the money? Some of we don't use anything but water and gas. They sure haven't built anything, they haven't did any work, but yet when that bill comes in, it's gonna be outrageous. And we're gonna have to go from the condo fee again. It doesn't make sense. I don't mind going up on the condo fee, but I would like to see the company that did the job, instead of just writing down how this was done and that was done. So you can ask the company, did you do this? Because I can say, okay, I went out there and picked up all this and did this and put a price on it. We don't know. I wonder if any way possible that if something is done, can we get the company's name that did it?
Okay. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be the case, and just so you understand how it should operate, and this is how, I won't dictate how anyone else would do it, but this is how we do it. If work is to be done, the manager has to come out and inspect that work.
Mm-hmm.
So we have an invoice,
Good.
and we come out and take a look at the work before it's ever approved, before payment is ever approved. It can go to the board of directors if they want to review that before approval as well.
Yeah, that's good.
So that the community board also
That's very
has an opportunity to weigh in. And we leave those decisions to the board of directors in terms of how they want us to operate.
Well, I hope they decided that we get the name of the company when they sent that big bill out, that this was done, and that was done, and this was done, and that was done. These things here, I've been here 25 years, look like ain't nothing been done.
Understood.
You
Well,
know,
the board will have to agree to that work before it's done as well.
I'm sure they will.
La pregunta fue, ella preguntó cuando se haga el trabajo en el condominio, si los dueños podemos recibir un recibo de la compañía que ha hecho el trabajo. Que dice que ha estado aquí 25 años y no sabe dónde va su condo fee. Y él contestó que no vea por qué no. Y dice que si hay que hacer trabajo, entonces el manager necesita revisar qué trabajo hay que hacer y revisar, y también puede trabajar de una manera que la Junta también tiene que revisar trabajo, revisar el invoice también.
O sea, punto también importante que no dijo es que antes de pagar a la compañía que hace cualquier trabajo, el manager va a venir para inspeccionar, asegurar que el trabajo ha sido hecho bien antes de pagar. Y también se puede necesitar la aprobación de la Junta, pues, antes de hacer algún pago así. So, is there a way, instead of just sending something out every time instead of, I guess, just sort of consolidated to like monthly or quarterly or bi-monthly?
Absolutely.
report
One
to
of the
owners
things.
So that they can see.
Sure. If you all want that to go out to the owners, absolutely. But the other way to do that is you have monthly board meetings or quarterly board meetings, however often you're going to meet. In those meetings, you should be taking minutes or having minutes taken for your board, such that approvals of the contract before the work is done is listed in there. So someone would know, anyone can have copies of the minutes, or we can send them out to the entire community, or you can put them on a website. And that will tell everybody who's going to be doing the work. And then when the work is done, the same thing. It can be approved by the board, the payment can be approved by the board and recorded in the minutes if that's how you want it to work.
Okay.
And again, everyone can get copies of those minutes and see what was approved. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
From your experience, you use condo fee for repair the windows, or you take a loan?
It depends on the community. We have helped communities obtain loans for work where the reserves weren't saved up over the years sufficiently. That is, not enough money was set aside from the beginning to pay for things that were going to have to be replaced eventually. And that's the way it's supposed to work. So we have done both. We have helped communities either through special assessments, or we have helped them stage the work along the way with an increase to the assessments rather than special assessments, so that it can be done piece by piece. And we have helped them go out for a loan in order to do everything at once. So we have done both ways. Actually, there's really 3 ways. Ultimately, you all as owners pay for the work. So the decision needs to be up to you all, how you want it to be billed back, how you want to pay for it. Whatever you decide is how we'll move forward.
If the condo fee raised one time, still kept it there, or reduce the condo after?
You mean for a loan or for the special assessment?
The condo fee,
But to pay for a loan or just to pay for the work?
to pay for the loan.
Okay. If you're paying for the work with a special assessment or with an increase in the assessment, once the work is done, or once you have enough money to pay for that work, you should be able to take the condo fee back down. It shouldn't stay up at the same level. But that's assuming that what's necessary, everything that has to be done is being done. Does that make
How much
sense?
the average condo fee for it depends on the condo?
It does. It does. If I looked at a community exactly like yours, but they had been saving money year after year after year, and they had the money to do all of the work, for instance, then the condo fee isn't going to go up because they don't need a loan, they don't need an assessment increase or a special assessment. But if they haven't saved any of that money, if they have no money in reserves, then their condo fee is going to go up higher than yours, even if they're an identical community. Also, if they have a pool and a tennis court and another, like an exercise gym or something like that, then they may have higher fees because they have more things to pay for every year. So it really depends on the needs of the individual community. I'd like to be able to give you a very specific answer, but I don't know enough about your finances to tell you whether you're at the right place or not. That's something we'd have to learn.
Ella preguntó si usa condo fee por mantenimiento o préstamo a la compañía de él. Y él dice que depende en la comunidad, que ha ayudado a comunidades con special assessments, como pagos especiales o subiendo condo fee, o también ha ayudado en aplicar por un préstamo. Y al final dice, ustedes como dueños paguen por el trabajo. Y dice que cada comunidad es diferente. Todo depende en la comunidad.
If I could, I would also point out that one of the first things that we're going to do is take a look at all of your service contracts to make sure that you're not overpaying for the work that you're getting now. And if there are ways to renegotiate, for instance, your trash removal, or your maintenance contract, or your janitorial, if it's appropriate. If we think, based on our experience elsewhere, that you're paying too much, we're going to try and renegotiate that to get you a lower cost. Obviously, anything that we can save you there means money that you don't have to pay in as owners to cover whatever replacement or repair costs you do need to incur.
También dice una de las cosas que haría es saber los contratos que tenemos de cortagrama, de basura, cosas así para ver si estamos sobrepagando, si podemos negociar, pagar menos para que podamos obtener costo más bajo.
I know about 20 years ago, I think it was a roof that had to be fixed. So everybody had to pay, like, I'd say $1,600 for that roof. That was good. You know, instead of condo, you just keep going up and up. We got together, everybody had to pay that $1,600 to fix that part. That's better than every time you turn around, the condo fee is going up. And from the looks of this picture, I don't know what they do with their money because, like I say, in the summer, we only use water and heat. They don't decorate, they don't do anything. The only thing that I have seen done There's a mess out there on those bars with they paint over top of old paint, and you'll see it, the bill will come in about $5,000 or $6,000 for that when the bill come in. I don't mind paying for anything if it's done and they let me know that it was done by this company.
Sure.
You know, because I just don't, I've been here 20, going 30 years. It's not the idea that I don't want to pay. I love this place to be real pretty like a lot of other places. If you say, okay, the roof gotta be done, each person gotta pay 20, 60 or 17 or $1,800, that's not bad. But just to keep on saying the rent's going up, the condo fee on condo fees going up, you're not really rich.
No, I
I'm
understand.
not, and I don't mind paying if something's got to be done. But like I said, I'm not gonna give my money to somebody and they put it on the thing and say, this was done, that was done, this was done. And from look at this picture, ain't nothing really been done with these pipes in years, you know?
Sure.
So I think everybody really wants a nice place and everything, but my God, you know, we don't mind paying for something that's really gonna be done and done right, and let us know who the company is.
Sure.
You know.
Well, and that's why I was saying, you know, it depends on what your priorities are as a group of owners and as a board of directors. That's what needs to dictate how this is handled. That doesn't change whether work needs to be done. If it needs to be done, as you said, you understand and you want it done.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep the quality of your community up.
Nice.
Right. But that's the way it needs to go. It needs to be done, you know, from the bottom up, not from the top down.
Right.
Sir,
Yes.
right here.
Yes.
I'll tell you what my priorities are. There is a lot of work that needs to be done in the community. The community has gone downhill, in my opinion. And I think the work is extensive and it needs to be done yesterday. I mean, the clock is ticking. I feel like it's urgent, it's an emergency. We need to do the work at once. We can't afford to piecemeal, put patches, Band-Aids to work. I mean, that's how I feel about the community. And I don't even live here. You know, I have a tenant, or I had a tenant, but I can't even get a new one because the place is not fitting for anyone to live in. And I don't want to be a slumlord. I want to be a landlord. You know, I wouldn't put someone in a place that I wouldn't want to sleep in myself. So I feel like, you know, for the people that live here and for the people that have investments here, you know, we need to come together and do something now. And that's you know, that's where I'm at.
Sure.
So I don't know, you know, how everyone else feels, but I wanted to voice my opinion on that.
Well, and I appreciate that. It's why the second item I have on my list, as far as soon as, you know, someone walks through the door, is the resolution of the loan vote and the work, the project status. That needs to be right up there at the top of the list, because it's clear that you all have been dealing with this for a little while. We don't know the exact extent of it, but obviously I'm sure there are owners that share, maybe all of the owners share that opinion. But I think the concern, of course, is and should be that it be done right and that it be done at the cost that's appropriate. And that's what we would endeavor to do. Otherwise, you can't move it forward. If everybody's arguing about what needs to be done and how much, then it becomes more difficult. So hopefully the idea is to bring everybody together, get a consensus so that things can move forward, so that you all benefit. Thank you, Don. I appreciate the input.
Do you have experience working in a community with as many needs as
Sure.
Westbriar has, and with the different factions of what's going on from the board and the owners at this point?
Absolutely. We have communities that were built in the 40s and 50s that obviously are in greater need at times. We have a community right now that we're working with where we're trying to help the board figure out whether it's time to repipe the entire community. It was built in the 1950s. It has never been updated. So the question is, do we repipe or do we use an epoxy, a sprayed in epoxy as an alternative. So we're looking at the costs and benefits of that, and getting the feedback from owners as well. Because of course, the more that degrades, the more those systems break down, the more damage you get, higher insurance costs and those kinds of things. So absolutely, this is the kind of thing that we do a good deal.
Yo pregunto si él tiene experiencia trabajando en una comunidad con necesidades como Westbriar. Y él dice que sí, que tiene una comunidad que fue construida en los 1940s y otro en 1950s y está ayudando a la Junta a decidir si reemplazar todas las pipas o poner como algo encima de las pipas.
Any other questions?
Okay. Well, thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Do you want 5 or 3? Or... Thank you. Have a good night all.
Thank you.
So we have 2 more candidates. The next one, Michelle is bringing down.
More if you want, or if you want to stand or have a seat right there.
This is right here in the hot seat.
Or here's the hot seat. So this is Ken Erickson from East Coast Management. El siguiente manager que va a presentar es Ken Erickson de una compañía que se llama East Coast Management.
Thank you all for having me. We're a little bit different than the other companies. I'm the owner of the company. I wear blue jeans to these things because I'm a worker, I'm not a suit. I'm out on the road, I'm here in the buildings, I'm walking the hallways, I'm picking up stuff when I'm walking around. I would be the manager of your community. I do work with other people, but I would be the person who would be responsible, and I am the owner of the company. Pretty sure that the people that you meet rest this evening will not be people who own their companies. I don't know a lot about, I know a little bit about the history of your community, and I know what I know from walking around. I mean, the first thing I would do is fix the lights. There's probably 10 lights that are either off or cycling. It just looks like whoever's been responsible, and I just with nothing against you all, but whoever's been responsible for taking care of the community hasn't been doing the kind of job that I think that you all deserve to have. I'm sure paying them to take care of it, and having literally 10 lights that aren't working is not, you know, and it's very dark here. You have a lot of very big trees, it's dark, I wouldn't want to walk around without the lights on. So that's kind of a first thing. The landscaping isn't as well taken care of as it should. There's shrubs that still need to be pruned. It's almost, it is November. I'm not here to beat up your community. It's a nice community. I'm sure you all enjoy living here. I would like to manage your community. We, like I said, we do things a little different. We're a small company. We only manage 20 properties. One of them is the Columbia Condominium, which is right up Carlin Springs Road. So when I'm at the Columbia, I can be at Westbriar. It's literally 2 minutes. It's almost drive by here on my way to get home from the Columbia. So that means when I'm there in the evening for meetings, I drive by here at night, so you get a little bit of the, which doesn't always happen that way, but if you drive by a community at night, you see things a little bit differently. You see that the lights aren't working, for example. I didn't notice that when I came by during the day. I didn't notice real problems with paving and concrete. The buildings seem to be in good shape. So I'm not really sure what issues you might be facing there. I don't have an engineer on my staff. I work with engineers. If there's something that needs to be done and requires an engineer, then I explain to the board that you need to talk to an engineer, and I'll have a couple people talk to you, and then we handle it that way. Trying to think of any other issues I should try to address before I answer questions.
I think she's going to translate really quickly.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, gosh.
Sí, okay, so,
Should've warned you.
that's that. Okay, so él dice que él trabaja diferente que otras compañías, que él viene a esas reuniones en jeans, porque él está siempre andando, viendo la comunidad y para ver qué es lo que se necesita. Y dice que, por ejemplo, ahorita estaba caminando afuera y dice que la primera cosa que haría sería de arreglar las luces, porque está bien oscuro afuera y dice que no sabe quién está manejando la comunidad, pero dice que tener 10 luces que no están trabajando es un poco mucho. Entonces dice que sí tiene que arreglar las luces y también dice que de landscaping hay unas cosas que tienen que ser cortado, que se ve que eso. Y él dice que él sería el manager de aquí si se contrate a la compañía de él, y también él es el dueño de la compañía. Y no, quizá otras compañías no se trabaja así, quizás se asignaría otra persona que no sea el dueño a ser manager de la comunidad. Él dice que su compañía es pequeña, tiene unos 20 propiedades que maneja, y una de las propiedades que maneja es un condominio en Colombia, bien cerquita de aquí por Colombia Pike, y dice que cuando vaya allá para revisar puede pasar aquí muy fácilmente para llegar a su casa, entonces me convenía ese modo de manejar aquí. Y dice que bueno, de lo que ha visto no conoce muy bien, no sabe muy bien las cosas de aquí, pero si se necesita también tiene un ingeniero que trabaja con ellos también.
I didn't know I said all that.
Y también si alguien tiene una pregunta también se podría preguntar.
El condominio, la comunidad que él maneja, alrededor de 700 square feet, ¿cuánto aproximado paga la gente de condominium?
He's asking, so a condominium that you manage that, for example, that has about 700 square feet, about how much is the condo fee?
Yeah, it's hard to answer because it depends on what you get. Some communities have utilities, which means it's high, and some communities don't have utilities, which means it's low. So it's hard to compare. You have all utilities, right? You have everything?
Water and
Except
gas.
electricity.
None.
You get no electrics, and your air conditioning is electric?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it would be similar to Little River.
Yes.
Their condo fee, help me, maybe 260 for 2 bedrooms?
Yeah.
But that's like 1,000 square feet.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
250, 260 with water and gas,
Mhm.
but no electricity.
Same here.
Yeah,
We pay
same
gas
here.
and water.
Yeah, so it's less than 300. The highest one is 300, but it's at 3 bedrooms. Now, the Columbia has all utilities, and the smallest, the 1 bedroom, is $370. But that's all utilities, that's everything. That's all mid-rise, and
$170.
$370.
Oh, $370.
With a pool and the elevators and all that, it gets expensive. For this type of building, 200, 220 maybe, for small.
We have big issue with that.
Yeah, but you're a small community. When you're less than 100 homes, 98?
106.
106. So 100 homes, you have to, the pool costs $15,000. So you've only got 100 homes, and you have to pay $15,000 for 100 homes. At property I manage in Annandale, very much like this, there's 200 homes. So the pool costs the same amount, but there's twice as many people paying for it. So it's the disadvantage of being in a small community that you pay more for kind of the same things. So it doesn't mean it has to be crazy more, but it's going to be more expensive. And I have big communities with 400 or 500 homes that are even less expensive than that because it's, like I said, spread out amongst a lot of people. So. Just a couple more things about me. I've been in property management for almost 30 years now. I started very young. I have a master's degree in business, and I would be the property manager here. So I've got the experience, I've got the education, I keep up with what's going on. The attorneys don't like me because people don't need to call the attorney so much, because I can give them answers that are true and that are accurate and that they can make decisions based on. And you don't always get that with the guys who come in with the suits and then give you some other guy who just got out of college. So I've been doing it a long time. I think I could do a good job for you here. Now, you're always limited by money. If you have a roofing job, this is probably at least $500,000 to do the roofs here. And if you don't have $500,000, then it's hard to fix stuff like that. So you have to be able to have the money and a board of directors that is looking to fix things before you can fix things. And if you're not in a position with the money, then it makes it real hard for anybody to do better. But it's also easy to find places to save money, where you're wasting money. And I can't say that off the top of my head because I don't know, but I know that there's always money that's available to be saved if you look hard enough to find it.
Okay, so let me just try to translate some of that. So, contestar la pregunta que se fue preguntado, él dice que, bueno, el fondo fee es un poco difícil, pero otra comunidad que maneja en Annandale paga por como un condominio de 2 cuartos, unos $260 en condo fee, como de 700 square feet. Pero dice que depende, porque como esa comunidad también que maneja, que paga un poco menos, es más grande, tiene unos 200 unidades. Entonces, por el hecho que aquí es más pequeño, quizá va a ser un poco más económico, porque para pagar la piscina siempre se paga lo mismo, digamos, pero entre menos personas. Pero él dice que él ha estado en ese negocio de manejando propiedades por 30 años, que comenzó muy joven y que tiene su maestría en negocio. Y entonces, él es quien sería el manager de aquí, si se contrata a su compañía. Y él dice que tiene mucha experiencia y educación. También dice que muchos abogados no les gusta a él porque las comunidades que manejan no necesitan llamar a los abogados, pero puede llamarle a él, porque él ya sabe mucho de las respuestas. Entonces él dice que piensa que puede ser muy buen trabajo aquí. También dice que de estar arreglando cosas, por ejemplo, si necesitamos reemplazar todos los roofs, dice sería por lo menos $500,000. Y entonces, bueno, para hacer eso se necesita dinero y también una junta que está dispuesto a arreglar las cosas. Y si no hay dinero, bueno, también dice que siempre se puede encontrar dinero y se puede ver de dónde está gastando el dinero para ya no gastarlo y ya tener más dinero por la comunidad.
Are you aware of the many issues that we have in Westbriar right now? All the problems with our plumbing, our electric sockets burning and causing fires, and some of the drain backups we have with the sewage, and our roofs deteriorating with pools of water on them?
No. I mean, I've heard a few of the issues, but not plumbing, not electric, ponding water on the roofs. I'm not specifically aware. I know that there are a number of issues facing the community. I think that's the fairest way to answer that. I'm not coming in blind.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And so you've worked with communities that have similar issues?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yes. The Columbia is 50 years old, 60 years old. Bad roofs, bad elevators, bad everything. And it takes some time, but eventually I think it's a nice looking building and well-run building now. But it takes a lot of effort to get it back and then to get it going in the right direction.
And if you don't have a lot of money in your reserves, then what are some of the options?
Well, I know you have a fairly substantial budget. You spend the money you've got. That's really all you can do. I don't see any building exterior things that you have to spend a bunch of money on. I thought there was paving issues. I thought there were more concrete issues. I thought the building issues don't appear, they're not visible issues. So, if you're not having to spend $100,000 repaving, then that helps, if you don't have to do that for a couple of years. But that's really all you can do is spend what you have. And I know that there's no interest in raising fees, so that makes it harder, but you just have to be patient, and it takes more time, so you have to be more patient, or you have to raise fees.
Have you worked with communities that have gotten loans?
I've never had a community that I've managed that needed to get a loan. We've usually run balanced budgets and had money in reserves. It's just never been an issue. And I always have, it always seems strange to me, because all my communities had money. They thought about borrowing money, but it was, you've got money in the bank, why would you go borrow money? Until you spend all the money you have before you would go out and borrow money. I haven't faced that issue. I know a bunch of bankers who would love to lend us money, but I'd certainly rather get it from the community first before I go out and try to find a banker to do it. Are the plumbing and electrical issues inside the unit, or is it a common problem?
It's a common problem throughout the buildings.
Okay.
They're all
It
deteriorating.
makes it tough. I mean,
They're
that's
falling apart.
Yeah, it's,
A lot of money's been spent patching pipes here, trying to, but the whole system needs to be replaced.
yeah, it's a lot of money.
Ella preguntó si él tiene experiencia o él ha trabajado con comunidades que necesitan mucha atención, mucho trabajo. Y él dice que si en otro economía, Colombia, que está cerca de aquí, tiene 60 años y necesitaba mucho trabajo de los roofs y de ascensores. Pero dice que tomó poco tiempo, pero ahorita se ve muy bien, dice. Y ella preguntó si no hay suficiente dinero en el reserva. Y él dice que, que no vea de fuera, de exterior, las cosas no se ven tan terrible. Y entiende que quizá no hay mucho interés en subir el fondo fee aquí. Entonces hay que ser paciente o hay que subir los fondos fee. Y ella preguntó si ha tenido experiencia con sacar préstamo en una comunidad. Y él dice que nunca ha tenido una comunidad que necesitaba un préstamo, que dice que siempre ha tenido dinero o siempre ha gastado el dinero que tenía para hacer las reparaciones. Y dice que conoce muchos en el banco que siempre quieren dar préstamos, pero dice que no ha tenido que hacer eso todavía.
¿Y cómo él ha hecho para que la comunidad siempre tenga fondos?
He wants to know what have you done so that the community has always had funds. Because you mentioned that you've been able to not need to take out a loan with your communities.
I wish I could tell you I did something brilliant that made it happen, but it's just preparing a budget that balances. So if you make a budget that balances and fixes everything, addresses all the needs of the community. It also includes money being put aside to take care of roofs and pavement and concrete. So it's just a matter of doing good budgets. You have a $600,000 budget. That's a lot of money for 106 homes. It seems like you ought to be able to spread it out enough to be able to get a lot of things done that you need to get done and put money away for the bigger projects. Now plumbing projects, I mean, that's another level. And I wouldn't know how to address that without knowing a lot more about the problem.
And electrical as well.
And I'm sure you've had people look at it already, engineers or some other type of profession.
Yeah, they said it needs to be replaced.
That's what they always say.
So there was a question of how has he done it? Oh, I translated that. So. Ok, en español. Entonces él contestó la pregunta de cómo él ha hecho que ninguna comunidad ha tenido que sacar préstamo. Dice que quiere decir que hizo algo mágico, pero realmente solamente es preparar un buen presupuesto que balance las cosas y asegurarse de siempre estar poniendo dinero aparte en el reserva, en ahorro, para poder hacer los proyectos necesarios en el futuro. Y dice que esta comunidad tenemos unos 600,000 de lo ganancia que hacemos, entonces es mucho dinero y entonces parece que se puede poder usar eso por las cosas que se necesitan.
The other thing you do is to make sure everybody pays that lives here, and I know that's a problem. I know your legal fees, your budget for legal fees is, twice as much as the management contract, and it's between legal fees and bad debts that you're expecting to miss out on. I mean, you have to address that. That's a big issue, because the rest of the residents are paying for the people who aren't paying, and that just puts you in a bad place to start. It'd also be very hard to borrow money if you ever had to do that. If you have that much money in debts that are owed by homeowners who aren't paying, that makes it, the banks will look very well at that.
I was under the impression that our delinquency rate was very low at this point.
I just saw 40,000 in legal. I know there's other issues with that. And I remembered seeing a number like 65,000 for bad debts. Is that not correct?
Yeah, I know our delinquency rate is low.
Maybe
Okay.
35,000.
Okay.
So we would have to find out what the numbers you're talking about.
Y si el otro punto también es asegurarse que todos paguen. Y dice que ha visto que el presupuesto por gasto legal aquí es como doble del contrato del manager. Y dice que sí, eso es muy importante que todos paguen, porque si no, entonces el resto de los dueños de los residentes paguen por los que no están pagando.
It was almost 30,000 last year for bad debts, and you're budgeting 15. It's still a big number. And the attorney fees, that's the first thing you do is stop paying the attorneys. From any way you can to not, because it's not making your property better when you're paying money to attorneys. God bless all attorneys who might be here. That's just something that's like the first thing you look at is how can we bring that number down so we can spend more money on things that we need to do.
Él dice que revisó ahorita y era 30,000 el año pasado de lo que se debe de bono fee. Y dice también era un poco muy alto gasto de lo que se paga el abogado. Y dice que tiene que parar de pagar abogados porque ellos no están haciendo mejor propiedad, aunque no están contra los abogados.
I realize that was that funny. Any other questions?
¿Alguna otra pregunta?
Thank you all. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Be in touch.
And the third and final candidate we have for management company is we have Jeff, president of Jeffrey Charles and Associates.
Good evening, everyone, and I'd like to also introduce Andrea Talaveras. She works with me, she's my executive assistant. I'd like to pass out the cards, and if you wouldn't mind passing those around to save time, I appreciate that. I've been in the property management business for 34 years.
Yo he estado en lo que es en la administración de propiedades hace unos 30 años.
We currently manage 80 communities, a lot of condominium buildings, a lot of older ones throughout Virginia, D.C., and Maryland.
Actualmente nosotros tenemos 80 propiedades y muchas de ellas son comunidades que son condos.
One of the things that I strongly suggest to the board is to make sure that whoever you hire is fully licensed to do property management in Virginia, because there is a licensing requirement in Richmond now. We're licensed real estate brokers. We also have our CIC license. We're also licensed general contractors and have been for many years. So we think that's important, because if you don't have a license, you don't have anything to lose.
Lo que él quiere recomendar sobre todo a la junta directiva, independientemente de quienes vayan a contratar, es de que se aseguren que tengan licencia para realizar el trabajo, porque eso es muy importante, que tengan licencia para hacer lo que es la administración de comunidades.
What we like to do, and we've turned around many situations like this where there have been limited funds and huge amounts of repairs that need to be undertaken. One example of that is St. James Mutual Homes in Southwest Washington. It's 107 units, almost identical in size to yours. And when we got there, they had $300 in the bank. Their roofs not only leaked, but you could see holes in the roof, in the ceilings of the units into the sky, and it would literally rain into the units. They had window problems, they had plumbing problems, they had electrical problems, and it took a number of years, but now we're in a situation where they have over $500,000 in the bank in the checking account, not counting reserves. And they've got all new roofs, all new parking lots, all new windows, completely new electrical upgrades to the system, so we've done this before. We've probably managed 120 million in improvement contracts through many different properties.
Él sabe de la situación que ustedes están pasando en este momento y él quiere compartir con ustedes la experiencia. Él tiene una comunidad que es St. James Mutual Homes en Washington y que en el momento que él tomó la administración solo tenían $300 en la cuenta de bancos, tenían problemas con el techo, tenían problemas con las ventanas, tenían problemas de liqueo. Es cierto que toma su tiempo para poder revertir esta situación, pero en el momento ellos tienen $500,000 en su cuenta de banco, no estamos hablando de la cuenta de reservas, y tienen un nuevo techo, tienen nuevo parqueo, tienen nuevas ventanas y sí se puede revertir situaciones como la que están pasando en este momento.
There are a lot of things that we look at. We run the communities like they're our own, and we care about the people that live in the communities we manage deeply. And we are experts at finding ways to operate as efficiently as possible. We can usually save people money on their insurance. We have a master insurance program that covers like many different properties, and they spread the risk so that each property pays less than they normally do. We were one of the first companies that put solar panels on a building for their hot water. So instead of running you have water retention tanks and you have copper coils and such on the roof, it literally reduced their gas bill like 70% because it's all solar now. And we got a company called Skyline Innovations that did that for free for the community because it's a shared cost thing. They get like 25% of what you save on the gas bill, and they pay for all the equipment up front. That's just one example. I'm going to give you about 10 more. Go ahead.
Lo que él quiere hacer resaltar es que nosotros nos preocupamos por la comunidad y tratamos de tomar individualmente las preocupaciones de cada uno de los propietarios. Evaluamos cómo se puede ahorrar el dinero. Un ejemplo es que nosotros tenemos una compañía de seguros que asegura todas las comunidades y así se minimiza el riesgo y se reducen los gastos en la aseguranza. Otra forma de ahorrar el dinero es de que nosotros fuimos la primera compañía en instalar paneles solares para calentar el agua. Eso hace que ustedes gasten menos en lo que es gas para tener agua caliente. Y eso lo proporcionó con una compañía que se llama Skyline. Y esa inversión de paneles solares se hizo gratuitamente porque ellos, al hacer ese cambio, ellos ganaron también 25% de lo que ustedes reducen en su consumo de gas. Ese es un ejemplo de 10 ejemplos que tienen cómo poder reducir los gastos que ustedes tienen en el momento.
There's also a company called Water Management. There's also another one, H2O Options, does a similar thing. And again, it's a performance-based contract. If they see enough savings in your water bill, if your water bill is excessively high, like it often is in old buildings because there are a lot of small leaks, you can even have 10% of the toilets just having a little leak in the flapper valve that'll siphon water out. You can't even hear it sometimes. And it could really run your water bill up. And they come in and they put in all new toilets, all new faucets, all new shower heads and aerators and so forth. And they, again, upfront the cost and they share in the savings of the bill. So that's another creative way to do things when you don't have money. There are also grants through Fairfax County for beautification and improvements that you can make to your landscaping. You get $5,000 a year for that. But I mean, I'm going on. Go ahead.
Another company is Water Management. Lo que hace es reemplazar los caños y las tuberías en muchas comunidades que son antiguas como esta, porque al ser antiguas ustedes pierden agua sin darse cuenta, ya sea mínimo en los baños o en las tuberías. Esta compañía hace la inversión sin, ellos invierten en hacer el cambio de las tuberías y de todas las cabezas de las duchas, los caños, y porque ellos ahorran también al momento que ustedes ahorran en lo que es su utilización de agua.
Energy efficient lighting. You have 40 watt fluorescent tubes, 4 of them in these lights. You can convert those to LED lighting and get 16 watts a bulb. You do that through your whole place. It doesn't make much of a difference on 1 or 2 lights, but you have probably a couple thousand lights here. And you can't necessarily afford to do it all at once, but when you replace them with the LEDs. When you're going to replace them anyway, it saves on the maintenance costs. You don't have to worry about a guy coming out to fix them because they last like 10 years. So that's another thing you can do.
Otro ejemplo es la luz. Si ustedes reemplazan los fluorescentes por LED luces, si ustedes reemplazan 2 o 3 no les va a significar ningún ahorro, pero si hacen el reemplazo en todas las luces en su comunidad, eso los va a ahorrar dinero, y también van a ahorrar dinero en mantenimiento, porque esas al reemplazar no necesitan mantenimiento frecuente de venir a reemplazar los fluorescentes que se queman continuamente. Esas luces duran mucho más, como 10 años más. Entonces ahí están ahorrando tanto en su consumo de electricidad como en el mantenimiento por el cambio de bombillas.
And we'll stop with that list right now. We don't want to share all our secrets with you yet, but we have a lot more ideas and things that we've done in many, many different communities to make a big difference. That's the key, is running as efficiently as you can and using whatever you can save on those operating expenses to put into the repair fund or fund the loan. Also on the board of a bank, local bank, that we'd have no trouble getting you a loan, I'm sure. But we'll reserve the rest of the time for your questions and appreciate your listening.
Por el momento vamos a parar con toda la lista de posibles cosas que se pueden hacer con la comunidad, pero la base de todo es saber manejar eficientemente, saber dónde ahorrar el dinero en operacional, como en mantenimiento, en todas esas cosas, y utilizar ese dinero en la comunidad. Les agradece el tiempo que ustedes les han prestado, y si tienes alguna pregunta, por favor que se la hagan.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm pro technology about the solar energy or whatever it is, but I have a question about how that work. You mentioned the solar heater. You don't have to pay. You did something like that. You didn't pay.
Yes.
Installation or the total cost of it.
The installation, the way it works with this company is they fund the upfront cost of the installation, including permitting. In this particular building, we had to get historic approval because it's in a historic area. It's on 16th Street in DC. And all they do in return is they get, in this case, it was 25% of the savings on the gas bill. So we're saving, I don't know, 70% on our gas bill. They get 25% of it, and we get 45% of it in that case. Now they get the tax credits. The tax credits flow to them, and they still own the equipment. But they share in the savings, and I guess they get a bank loan at a low rate because it's an energy efficiency program. And they're able to make a little money on it. And a very successful company. But we were, I think, the first building they did in DC, and it really worked out well.
La pregunta de, bueno, lo que dijo él está a favor de hacer de toda la tecnología y preguntó acerca de los paneles solares, si es que era gratis la instalación y todo eso, cómo es que funciona. Él explicó de que esta compañía afronta el gasto de la instalación y también si es que se tiene que sacar permiso. En el ejemplo que él dio de St. James Mutual Homes, está en la calle 16, de que se considera un edificio histórico, se tuvo que sacar los permisos pertinentes para poder hacer el uso de los paneles solares. ¿Cómo funciona? Ellos afrontan la instalación y todo lo pertinente, y ellos comparten lo que ustedes ahorran de electricidad. Digamos que ustedes ahorran, en este caso, 70% en el uso de la electricidad. Ellos se quedarían con el 25% de lo que ustedes han ahorrado de la electricidad, y ustedes se quedarían con el 45%. Es como funciona. En el caso hipotético, estoy haciendo un número a grosso modo, pero en ese caso específico fue que ellos se quedaron con el 25% de lo que habían ahorrado del uso de la electricidad.
Yes, ma'am. Janet, right?
How long do they get that 25%? Is that
It's
an
for-
indefinite arrangement? or-
It's 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 years.
But how long do they own the equipment? Forever?
Yeah, they own it forever. So you have to renew the contract every 5 years. There's also a company called Solar City that's working its way around the country. They're not in Virginia yet, but we're keeping track of that as well. They have another similar program for individual homeowners as well as commercial properties. But we try and stay abreast of everything going on so that we can help our clients do better and save money and get better services for their money. Because it helps us, because then people talk about us and we get more business, and that's kind of how we've grown, by going the extra mile and not just going through the routine of do what we have to do, and that's the minimum. You know, we go above and beyond and work hard to help our clients.
Ella preguntó por cuánto tiempo esta compañía que puso los paneles solares se quedó con el 25% del ahorro de la electricidad. Es 5 años. Y también preguntó si es que los equipos y los paneles solares se quedaron con el edificio. Sí, o sea, la comunidad es dueña de toda esa maquinaria. Mr. Toto también quiere acotar que nuestra compañía siempre está en ir más allá de lo que es posible para poder ahorrar dinero del mantenimiento de las utilidades, para poder utilizar esa en el bienestar de la comunidad, en hacerla mejor cada día. Y eso es un plus para él, porque al trabajar para ustedes y hacer mejor, ustedes van a hablar bien de la compañía, y así él va a ser recomendado con otras comunidades y obtener otras comunidades para trabajar.
There's actually energy choice now in Virginia for natural gas, not quite yet for electricity, but that's coming next, where you don't have to use Washington Gas as your supplier. You can choose from among 7 or 8 companies that do it. And some of our properties, I switched my own bill on, I would say 23% on my gas bill by switching. It's just like back when they did telephone deregulation in the 80s, where you could switch from Ma Bell to MCI to Sprint to whatever. So that's happening too, and I think the key is you have to really be out there finding out these things so that you can take advantage of them.
Quiere también mencionar de que ahora hay una regulación en Virginia que les permite utilizar lo que es el gas natural, ya no optar por lo que es Washington Gas, sino por lo que es gas natural. En el caso personal de Mr. Turner, él hizo el cambio, él ya no utiliza Washington Gas, sino utiliza gas natural, y él de su consumo de gas ahorró el 23%. La clave del éxito es buscar aquellas pequeñas oportunidades, estas opciones, estas alternativas para poder ahorrar dinero, ¿no? Como ese gas natural, como es utilizar la energía solar para como elemento de calentar, cambiar las tuberías para poder minimizar lo que es el liqueo y el consumo de agua.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
what would you do in a community that's unsafe, that has issues with electrical work
Okay.
that needs to be done, plumbing that needs to be done, roofs that need to be fixed, balconies that need, how would you handle an unsafe community?
The first key is you have to have the funds to make the repairs. So we again analyze it like a business. Revenues, how can you raise revenues, how can you lower expenses? One thing we did in a community in Falls Church, very similar age property, a little bit bigger, is we bought our own laundry machines instead of hiring CoinMac to do it. And we found out how much they actually make on doing laundry, because they were paying a commission to that particular property. I think it was $1,500-1,600 a month, and we were doing $4,000 and $5,000 a month once we did it ourselves. So the machines paid for themselves in 9 months, and then we could use that money to start putting money into the fund to replace the windows, which we eventually did. As far as dire emergencies, if someone has an electrical hazard in their unit, that could be a fire, it's triage. You have to deal with the most pressing issues first. Whatever funds you have to deal with life and safety health issues first. And then on down, you deal with the big problems first, and you work your way down, so that hopefully in 5 years from now, we'll be dealing with the neighbor's cat and who put their trash out. But this is serious now. We need to deal with the big issues first, and then
And if you have several big
put all your
issues.
resources into that. Solve that problem, then go to the next one.
Okay.
La pregunta que hizo la señora es si él ha tenido comunidades que tienen problemas de seguridad eléctricos, de lo que es de las terrazas, del problema de liqueo. Y mi instructor le respondió que para poder afrontar esos problemas se necesitan recursos. Lo primero que se tiene que hacer es analizar sus finanzas, tratar de reducir sus gastos y tratar de incrementar sus ingresos. Un ejemplo es, tenemos una comunidad en Fall Church que tienen, que lavan ropa utilizando el servicio de una lavandería. Lo que hicieron es sustituir ese servicio de la lavandería comprando lavadoras y secadoras para la comunidad. Después de un año de obviamente se pagaba un fee por el uso de las lavadoras, pero las lavadoras y los equipos eran de la comunidad. Al finalizar el año se dio cuenta cuánto es de que este servicio de lavandería ganaba por el uso de las maquinarias. Al terminar el año se terminaron de pagar las máquinas y se pudo sacar el dinero para los ingresos del uso de las lavanderías. Es cierto que esos problemas que ponen en riesgo la seguridad, como lo son los problemas eléctricos, se tienen que afrontar primero. Tienen que utilizarse todos los recursos que se tienen para poder arreglar esos problemas. Una vez que se han solucionado esos problemas que atentan contra la seguridad y la salud de la comunidad, se va trabajando otros problemas como problemas de ruido, problemas de las mascotas y ese tipo de problemas.
Who would be the manager here?
Because this property needs so much, I would be working with the board at least the first year, and we would gradually transition to a more junior manager, or we'd probably, in some senses, be working as a team. We have specialists within our company that are experts at different aspects of the business, so we bring a team approach to it, and I would be helping myself.
ella preguntó cuál sería el manager que se haría cargo de la comunidad, y Mr. Turner le respondió de que debido a los problemas que afronta la comunidad, él se asumiría el cargo de manager de la comunidad el primer año, y posteriormente se va a hacer la transición a otros. Nosotros somos un equipo de trabajo y diferentes personas tienen diferentes habilidades o diferentes áreas de trabajo que pueden trabajar como equipo, pero él asumiría la responsabilidad como el manager.
Thank you very much for
¿Tenían preguntas?
listening to me. I know it's been a long night for you. Yes, sir.
What do you think, according to your knowledge and your experience, do you think making those changes, small saving is little bit here, little bit there? Do you think in the community like this, the problem we have, do you think in 5 years we can come in?
I think so, and I think, you know, I think some of them aren't necessarily small changes, but if you add up all the things that you can do, my feeling is, I haven't seen too much information, but based on doing this so many times over many years, every property you go into, it's because there's a problem. They don't change management because everything is just wonderful, you know. So we're good at this because we've done it so many times. You could certainly probably fund a loan through the savings you have and other things without having to raise the condo fees. That would be my goal. For you to do, you know, all these other things we can do, you can make the payments on a loan without raising the condo fees. Not sure we can do it, but that would be my goal, to try and do something like that.
Él preguntó, dado su conocimiento y su experiencia, él considera de que haciendo pequeños cambios que se han mencionado por aquí y por allá, en 5 años se pueda tener una comunidad sin problemas. Y Mr. Tony le respondió que no son cosas simples, pero que sí se pueden lograr, y que su meta es poder conseguir un préstamo para poder afrontar esos cambios que se quieren hacer sin tener que elevar sus dues. Tratar de utilizar lo que tienen en reserva o lo que tienen disponible para poder pagar ese loan. No está diciendo que sea posible, pero que se puede tratar de ver una manera de afrontar todas las dificultades que ustedes tienen con un préstamo sin tener que elevar sus dues.
Un condominio que usted administra alrededor de 700 pies cuadrados, ¿cuándo se paga de condo fee?
He's asking if we have a community if it's around 700 square feet, how much they're paying for condo dues.
It depends on a lot of factors, but you know, we have managed a lot of them, similar vintage, and I own some condos in different properties like this, quite a few. I've seen them anywhere from 180 to 300, you know. It just depends on where you are and what your needs are.
Él dice que depende, que todo, que él personalmente tiene condominios alrededor del square footage que usted ha puesto como ejemplo, y abordan entre los 180 y los $300 de dues mensualmente, y todo depende de las necesidades del condominio y de las cosas que tiene, como amenidades, gimnasio, piscina, parque recreacional. Todo depende de las necesidades del condominio y del tamaño del condominio y de las amenidades que tiene.
Yes, ma'am.
in order to determine what needs to be done first, or what kind of, I guess what needs to be done first, what type of assessments or survey would you need to do as a company in order to get down to the bottom line for these questions that we're asking?
Well, I think, we need to get in and get our feet wet and observe things for ourselves, and also the board, hopefully, looks like they will, has pretty good institutional knowledge of what the most pressing issues are, and attending the meetings, hearing back from the members. Obviously, health and safety issues are number one. You can't have a fire here, or you're never going to get anywhere. You're not going to get insurance, or somebody could get killed or injured. Not a fun thing to happen. So if you have fire code issues, that has to be dealt with first. I don't see any other way around that. But then we go progressively down the list of things that need to be done. And beautification is great, but it may be the last thing you can do if you've got bigger issues like that. But there are ways around that too. You can get volunteers and have a cleanup day, or a fun time. Do that sort of thing too.
La señora preguntó para poder conseguir todo lo que se ha preguntado en esta reunión, qué es lo que necesitaría como compañía para poder determinar cuál es la prioridad, cuál es el problema que se tiene que afrontar primero. Él respondió que primero tendría que visitar la comunidad, tendría que familiarizarse con la comunidad para determinar cuál es el problema que requiere mayor atención. También trabajar conjuntamente con la junta directiva, que por ser junta directiva ellos deben de tener noción de aquellos problemas de que se tienen que afrontar con prioridad. Y por último, como explicó anteriormente, es el problema con lo que es el problema de la electricidad que tienen, porque si no cumplen con el código de fuego, nadie los va a asegurar. Si no están cumpliendo con un código, nadie los va a asegurar. Y aquellos problemas que se tienen que afrontar con prioridad son los que atentan con la seguridad y con la salud. Eso es primero, y ya después ir resolviendo problemas que tengan menos prioridad sucesivamente.
Any other questions? ¿Alguna otra pregunta?
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Gracias. At this point, we're going to go ahead and adjourn. Now that we've heard all three candidates.
I just had a question. Do we have legal counsel at this point?
Yes.
We do have legal counsel. Who is our legal counsel?
Ms. Susan Ehrman.
Okay.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure.
Gracias todos por venir y vamos a terminar la reunión hoy.
Before we end this meeting, I requested the minutes from last meeting that we had, and it was promised to send it via email. And today we don't even have an agenda of what we are talking.
You requested the minutes?
Yes, the lady that is absent today, she said that she was going to email it to me. Yes.
Did you
she
just
did.
talk to her directly?
Yes, just after the meeting, I tried to ask, but everybody wanted to go. I went to the table and I did ask her. And I gave her my email address. She said that she was going to send it.
Once those are approved, they are sent to the manager, and you request those from the manager.
She said that she was going to send it. No, it's not how it was before. I mean, I have been absent to these meetings for a while, but that was not how it was before. I mean, we had the minutes, we had the agenda, because there's many inconsistencies.
Today is, okay, gracias. Today is a special meeting, so the only thing on the agenda, the only thing we can legally talk about is what we published in the notice, which is the presentation of the managers. So in the future, we will have a meeting where it will be open to other things. But because this is a special meeting, according to our rules, it has to be what we discuss.
For one part, it's right, but also would it be nice to have the names of the management companies that were going to be here, so we could read something about them, not just for what they said. I mean, they said what they said it was important, but it's also important to investigate their portfolios.
Okay, so they each said their names. I can write down the names for you. I can leave their cards if you would like. And you can.
Well, now I have it, same here, yes.
Okay. But we do need to adjourn at this point. So thank you, everyone.
I'm just wanting to express that.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Should be on tape.
Yeah.
What was provided to them was a petition. It should be on tape. That we provided a petition. That you presented a petition to them.
Yeah, I have the other communication later on, but I'm gonna try to wait a little bit.
Yes, I know that we haven't, you know, like. From the owners.
When life moves on, it's so hard. It's hard to get so busy with everything, and
Yeah.
But I got it.
take care. Okay.